Nano Machine by Hanjo Leolia. Chapter 471. Descendant from the Future. Part 1. The young man in his early 30s, called Chun Isa, was the descendant who gave him the 7th generation Nano machine. Chun Yo-won had seen the video inside Nano, and there was no way he wouldn't recognize him. Chun Isa? Isa meant director, a position in the Sky Corporation, his company. But with that one short word itself, he inferred a lot. What? Maybe, all the information related to our company put into the Nano machine was. It was strange how he was being referred to as that. It was natural that he was puzzled. The one from the future didn't even know what was recorded into the Nano machine. This is crazy. Did something go wrong? He had gone through a lot to come there. His first plan had also gone awry, and he didn't think that their meeting would take such a long time. Knowing that the North Sea Ice Palace was located on Alkan Island in Russia, he thought he knew the exact location and would see Chun Yo-won there. But when he had reached the North Sea Ice Palace, the palace was being rebuilt. Thanks to that, he had a hard time tracking Chun Yo-won down. He only managed to arrive here after being caught by them several times. Is it possible that the Blade 6 is involved? Otherwise, it was strange for Chun Yo-won to know his identity. It was a moment's wonder, and Director Chun was on the verge of suffocation. Cough, hand, unhand me. SRRK. HIA. When Chun Yo-won learned of his identity, he held back from crushing his neck. But he didn't completely let go. Although he was his descendant, he couldn't figure out why he did that. Why did you aim at Mun-ku? It was absolutely unforgivable. Ha ha ha. I wasn't aiming. I was trying to put her to sleep with an anesthetic gun. Anesthetic gun? Nano's voice was heard in Chun Yo-won's ears. As a result of analysis, it is recognized as an anesthetic needle from the TG-3100 firearm. Whoa! In the augmented reality field of view, the image of the needle Chun Yo-won had caught earlier, and its information was all written down. What the hell is a gun? He roughly knew what anesthesia meant. It meant that it was an act or product which could cause loss of consciousness or sensation. But he didn't know what a gun meant. It's a weapon that fires something using exploding gunpowder. The method is present in the system. He had no interest in that exploding gunpowder. However, it seemed to follow the same logic as firing a shell. In any case, it was clear that the purpose of his descendant wasn't to harm Mun-ku, but to put her to sleep. Then why did you want to put her to sleep? That. Tatak. Before Director Chun could say anything, Mun-ku appeared. With eyes of wonder, she asked. Lord, this man is? Chun Yo-won was momentarily speechless at her question. He was at a loss for how to explain. He couldn't say that he was a descendant who appeared from the future but tried to put Mun-ku to sleep. At that moment, Chun Yo-won heard a telepathic message from Director Chun. This is why I was trying to put her to sleep. I don't have much time. Could you ask your follower to step back? Follower? Chun Yo-won's eyes rose. Perhaps it wasn't written in the Sky Demon Order's records, but the descendant didn't seem to know who Mun-ku was. Lord, shall I subdue him and take him away? At Mun-ku's words, Chun Yo-won's expression hardened. It just had to be when the two of them were talking about the most important thing in their lives. However, this situation couldn't be overlooked. Chun Yo-won was full of regret but thought that the situation couldn't be helped. He looked at her and spoke in a soft voice. Mun-ku. Yes, Lord. If I understood what you said before correctly, then today is the happiest day of my life. Ah. That. At Chun Yo-won's words, Mun-ku's face turned tomato red. She was too flustered and shy, as she kept waving her hand back and forth. He stroked her hair with his left hand and spoke with the same soft tone. I'm sorry, but is it okay if we get back to it at a later time? At Chen Youwen's softer than usual words, Manku nodded with a red face. She might have been a little disappointed, but when he spoke like that, it felt like Chen Youwen considered her very important, and she felt grateful. I have something to talk about with this person, so go down with the cultists first. Will you be fine? Chen Youwen had just recovered and was seriously injured just 2 hours ago. She didn't want to leave Chen Youwen alone like that. Do not worry. This man isn't dangerous. Understood. Lord. But please be careful. The strange clothes somehow. I think he's a suspicious person. Suspicious? It was her opinion as she looked at the clothes of the descendant, who was still being held by the neck. Anyone who saw that outfit would be wary. You. If you do any harm to my lord, you will never get out of this place alive. Yes, yes. Director Chen reluctantly responded to Manku's warning. After giving that warning, Manku descended Changbai Mountain towards the torches which were moving. When her presence was completely gone, thud. Ugh. Director Chen, who was out of Chen Youwen's grip, hurt his butt as he landed on the ground. Director Chen shook his head and clicked his tongue. Although his ancestors in the distant past were well versed in martial arts, unlike the director's current time, Chen Youwen was still a monster. To become a monster in just 4 or 5 years. He did inject the nano machine for this to happen, but it was still amazing. He never imagined that his stealth mode would be discovered by both the former Lord Chen Yuzhong and current Lord Chen Youwen. Stealth mode didn't just block vision, it could also hide the energy emitted from the body, but he never expected to be found this easily. Director Chen tried to put his hand into the square bag hanging from his waist. Whoa! What? But then his hand stopped before he could put it into the bag. He was stopped by profound energy. What do you think you're doing? Director Chen looked up with bewildered eyes at Chen Youwen, and said, I don't mean to harm you. I just have something to check. Chen Youwen, who was looking at the man with suspicious eyes, retracted the energy. As the hand moved, Director Chen felt amazed. Even Director Chen, who was a skilled man in his time, couldn't restrain an opponent's movement with his internal energy. Time moved forwards, but we are going backwards. It was a shame. But it was unavoidable. Only the Blade 6 group had mastered proper martial arts in their time. Director Chen pulled something out of the bag. Seeing that, Chen Youwen's eyes lit up. What is that? It looked like something from the future that Nano had shown him. It was strange. There was a printed image on a square-shaped object, which was the size of a palm. Director Chen pressed the image on the square box a few times with his thumb, and a strange sound came out of it. Beep. 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 Ah. Seeing that, Director Chen exhaled a breath of relief. All he was holding was a device that could track down the 7th generation nano machine. He took it out to check if there was a nano machine in Chen Youwen's body. It was because he was concerned that the Blade 6 had noticed that and had come to the past to do something. How did he find and use the gadolinium nano machine? It was a very lucky situation. But there were unsolved questions. Standing up, Director Chen spoke. How do you know me? He believed that remembering faces in a state of confusion was possible. But knowing his position in the present didn't make sense. To that, Chen Youwen said calmly. I saw it in a video of Nano. A man called Dr. Beck called you Chen Isa. Video recording? The lab was being recorded. Ah. As his question had been resolved, Director Chen nodded his head. Dr. Beck must have forgotten to delete or lock the video. That could be possible. If so, it was natural that Chen Youwen knew his post. Chen Youwen spoke to him. Even so, I have a lot of questions for you. You gave me Nano. Are you referring to the Nano machine? Yes. At Chen Youwen's affirmation, Director Chen grabbed his stomach and laughed. Pwahahaha. Nano. When you said nano, I immediately thought you were talking about the Nano machine, but you refer to it as if it's a person. What's so funny? Chen Youwen felt uncomfortable and frowned. Humph. Director Chen suppressed his laugh immediately. When he saw Chen Youwen 5 years ago, he was just a boy, but now, the sense of intimidation that Chen Youwen gave him was far stronger than his father, Chairman Chen, could give. Anyway, Chen Isa, why did you give? Hold up. I am really sorry, but my name isn't Chen Isa. What? Chen Isa is like a position. In today's terms, it's a position like an elder. An easy-to-understand explanation, Chen Youwen nodded, making sure he understood it. Then what is your name? This is a late introduction. If you have seen the video, you probably noticed my identity, to some extent, so I'll tell you everything without hiding. Tak. The descendant bowed on one knee and took the position any cultist would take to pay respects to their lord. I would like to extend my greetings to my ancestor, the Slashing Demon Emperor, 24th Lord of the Sky Demon Order. I am the eldest son of Chun Mu-jin, the 117th head of the Great Sky Demon Order, Chun Musong. It was a polite greeting, but Chen Youwen's eyebrows rose. He was puzzled. That isn't my title. Ah. It looks like you haven't gotten the nickname yet. You'll be called the Slashing Demon Emperor soon. The descendant who identified himself as Chun Musong said that with certainty. This was a completely different history from what he knew, and he didn't know that the title didn't change. I'm saying that it isn't the title. I'm sorry for interrupting my great ancestor. I really can't stay in one place for long, so can I talk first? Chun Musong was looking impatient. Chen Youwen sighed and nodded his head. In a way, he was angry when his words were cut off, but this man was the descendant from the future who saved his life. Chun Musong rose and said, Firstly, I would like to apologize once again for trespassing into my ancestor's life and for this. What? At that time, Chun Musong pressed the video screen, which he was holding with his thumb. 7th generation Nano machine, take the orders of Chun Musong, your master. Temporarily restrain the user's body. Beep. Beep. The command has been sent to the 7th generation Nano machine. The command right has been assigned to Master ID rather than the user. A voice similar to Nano's echoed from the device. When Chen Youwen frowned and wondered, Chun Musong spoke with a sorry face. Sorry. Ancestor. I don't have much time as I am being pursued by them. To be here, I had no other choice but to move on to Plan B because I was using the space portal, which ran out of battery after every jump. What does that even mean? Chen Youwen asked with narrowed eyes. At that, Chun Musong smiled while placing his hands together. I want to tell you everything honestly, but nothing good happens when people from the past know the future. I will never harm you, so please be patient. He held out the device towards Chen Youwen and said, Move all the data that was analyzed in the user's body to the Master ID controller. Copy all the information about martial arts and internal energy usage that have been saved as data. Sending commands to the 7th generation Nano machine. The corners of Chun Musong's lips went up. This was his second plan. It was believed that as long as there was information that was being collected in the nano machines, it could be converted into data, and when back in the future, he could utilize it. Please wait a minute, it will be due, Chun Musong's eyes widened as he looked at the screen on the device. Error. Error. Commands not sent to the 7th generation nano machine. What? Try again. Error. Error. The text error was displayed on the screen. Chun Musong couldn't understand. No way. I ordered it with my master ID, kook. Whoa. Before he could finish his words, Chun Musong caught his breath as he floated into the air. Unbelievable, Chun Musong's eyes trembled. Apparently, Chun Yowan had to be restrained because of the master ID command, but Chun Yowan was coming towards him. No way, how could this happen? Chun Yowan spoke to him, who was bewildered in a cold voice. You will regret it if you don't give me a compelling reason for this. Descendant. Chapter 472. Descendant from the Future. Part 2. Cough cough. Chun Musong, who was struggling in the air, couldn't hide his shock. An impossible thing happened. The 7th generation nano machine is made of gadolinium, the greatest metal ever. The best technology which had no problem with self-healing and self-upgrading. Nonsense. How could he break free from the restraint? If the nano machines control the body from the inside, one couldn't move. It was because they paralyzed the nerve centers which control the cerebellum, which is responsible for movement. Chun Musong was shocked, but it was a natural outcome. External interference blocked. Good job. Nano. Nano had detected the command frequency sent by the device Chun Musong was holding from the very beginning. And it automatically blocked any interference. In fact, normally, what Chun Musong had been intending would have happened. However, there was something that changed in Nano. It's my luck that an error occurred in Nano that time. The damage that Nano took from the lightning when fighting the dragon turtle in the North Sea. At that time, in the process of recovering from the error, the main chip of Nano was damaged, and coincidentally, in the self-upgrade, external interference was blocked. Chun Musong, who didn't know that, shouted. What did you do? He was emotionally agitated. It was because he couldn't receive the data from the nano machine. This meant that all his hard work was in vain. But Chun Yowan didn't know that. What are you doing? Chun Yowan asked and raised his finger upwards. Then, the body of Chun Musong, who was already in the air, rose higher. Ugh. Chun Yowan's eyes were narrowed. I would like to hear an explanation. Shit. Chun Musong was confused. The longer he stayed here, the more likely they would notice. So, rather than trying to persuade Chun Yowan for a long time, he just wanted to take the data and return to the real world with the martial arts information. I can't even move. Being restrained like that was more severe than being caught by the neck. Seeing Chun Yowan's face full of displeasure, the descendant noticed how angry he was. Still, he was a descendant from the future, he wouldn't be harmed, but it didn't seem like he would just let him be. Should I explain it in moderation? It was a dangerous situation if he didn't hurry. If he was alone, that would be a different matter as he was in direct contact with them. However, there is a high probability that they would touch Chun Yowan. If he wasn't alone and his luck was terrible, they would discover the existence of the 7th generation nano machine, then the worst would happen. An ancestor, I sincerely apologize for my disrespect. But I really don't have time. I didn't really mean to harm you. That isn't what I want to hear. Yes? Shoo. Chun Yowan moved his finger lightly. At that moment. Crack. Quack. Chun Musong's left arm got twisted and broke. At the sudden event, Chun Musong screamed in pain. This is crazy. He never imagined that Chun Yowan would break a healthy descendant's arm. He had never felt this kind of pain in his life, almost on the very verge of losing consciousness. Kook. Let me make this clear. If you hadn't given me Nano, I would have cut off your arm. No more crossing the line and acting like this. Creepy. As soon as he heard those words, Musong had goosebumps all over his body. Something remembered in his brain. Among the various matters recorded about the successive lords. He remembered what was written about Chen Yuan, the 24th Lord and Tyrant. He has the cruelest hands among all the previous lords. Even the reason for his title being created, without leaving a single person who offended him, their arms were cut off. If his memory was correct, everything was true. It was only after his arm was twisted did he remember that. It was his worst mistake, thinking of Chen Yuan as some little boy. Chen Yuan was something he had to be very careful with. Wike. Chen Yuan now looked at his left arm. Chen Musong spoke out, scared. I will talk. AD year 2940, 1225. Just an hour before moving into the past. In the Sky Corporation lab, Dr. Beck handed over the master device capable of tracking and controlling the 7th generation Nano machine to Chen Musong. Dr. Beck spoke in an unappealing voice. As you asked, the data terminal information is also copied. Thank you. Are you sure nothing can control the 7th generation Nano machine other than this device? Unless the worst possible gate in history reopened, there's no other way to control gadolinium. Chen Musong licked his lips, satisfied. A gate, once closed, cannot be reopened. Therefore, this device is the last means to control the 7th generation Nano machine. Sticking out his tongue, Dr. Beck spoke. Look, Director Chen. Wouldn't it be better for you to use this Nano machine instead? The Nano machine was something Chen Musong had made, and it was the best masterpiece. It had the ability to absorb all energies, and it was impossible to trace, because it wasn't a metal that existed on Earth. If that happens, the government and Blade 6 may impose sanctions or interfere despite deviating from the rules. Doesn't the DR already know that it won't work? So, if you intervene in the past, do you think the Blade 6 or the Blade God 6 Martial Clan from the future will disappear? If the time axis changed, everything we did would become meaningless. It was the thing that Dr. Beck was most concerned about. It was pointless to intervene in the past. If history changed, the present they were in could disappear like the butterfly effect, and if the time axis wasn't changed, things would stay the same. It doesn't matter. I just need to prove that my predictions are correct. If it's true, then it will be like hitting him on his head, and that's enough for me. Whoa, stubborn. Wasn't it the doctor who liked that? Hoo-hoo. As if Dr. Beck lost, he raised his hands, shaking his head. From distant ancestors to recent ones, the family of Chen had been blessed, but all of them were stubborn. Understood. He wasn't discouraged. Chen Musong pulled out something from the bag on his waist and spoke. This might be the last thing you get to say. Any last words? Don't say that even as a joke. Phew, I hope you don't enter the plan you mentioned. That's the whole reason I made that device. Ha 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 ha, you know. The most certain. You. Where does the nonsensical idea of bringing the people from the past to the future even sound like a plan? Chen Musong spoke in a heavy voice. It's because we are in a dire situation. Because he is the only one who can deal with that monster. You have gone crazy. It isn't a brilliant idea. It's a crazy idea. We'll only know if we implement it. Well, wait a minute. Despite the urgent call from Dr. Beck, Chen Musong smiled brightly, unlocked the safety device from the bag, and pressed a button. Whoa! Space around him shook with a dazzling light, and his body got sucked into the void. Chen Yuan had heard the story from Chen Musong. What? You were trying to take ancestor Chen Ma to the future? These were words that he never thought he would say. Combining some of the information that he learned so far, he understood that the purpose of the future descendant was to prevent the Blade God and his clan from developing. However, when he heard that he was trying to take Chen Ma to the future, it sounded absurd. Because he's the only one who can face that monster. This one is crazy. The one called Dr. Beck didn't like this plan. But Chen Musong had gone ahead because he was sure that this plan could block the blade god successfully. But the fact that Chen Musong was here meant that the plan had failed. That was the original plan, but Chen Ma thinks that the work and problems of the distant future are something that people of that time need to solve. It was a strange thought. I thought of taking him by force, but I didn't dare do that. Chen Ma was too strong. Seeing him look sad, Chen Yuan clicked his tongue and spoke. TCH, so that's why you told Chen Ma to prepare for the future while pretending to be a prophet and calling it a prophecy? Chen Musong's eyes widened at those words. No. How did you know that? He couldn't help but be shocked when he heard Chen Yuan say that. He never dreamed that Chen Yuan, who was in this era, knew all that. Who is this man? He did give him a nano machine, but he couldn't guess what all had happened in just 4 years. Because Chen Ma showed it to me. The appearance of the prophet shown by Chen Ma was Chen Musong. Because of that, Chen Yuan already knew that this man had gone to the past, the era of Chen Ma. He wanted it to be explained. Do what you are supposed to do. Understood. Chen Musong, who was so afraid that his arm would be cut off, didn't ask for more. Chen Yuan asked the first question. There is one thing I'm curious about. If my guess is correct, you gave me Nano to prevent the Blade God's 6 martial clan and the Blade God. But why didn't you give Nano to Chen Ma? This was something he couldn't understand. If he was unsure, he should have persuaded Chen Ma from the beginning. There was no need to make things so complicated. After hesitating for a while, Chen Musong opened his mouth. There is this thing called time paradox. Time paradox? It means a contradiction in time. If I implanted the nano machine into my ancestor, then I would have disappeared forever. Ceased to exist. Disappear? The history I know would change. Even one change in history would have a huge impact. Of course, I should have disappeared, but I didn't. A time paradox occurred. Chen Yuan frowned. It was too complicated for him to understand. Chen Musong explained it again. I'll explain it simply. We have the power to decide our actions. If I kill someone in this age, his children, grandchildren, and future descendants will disappear. Only then did Chen Yuan understand. Come to think of it, if he hadn't been injected with the nano machine, the Blade Lord would have obtained the cores of all 5 spirit beasts. Everything would have gone according to their plan. It was a guess. It was a theory that was mentioned in many famous books. That with changes to the time axis, the universe will be born anew. Time axis? The fact that I still exist without disappearing means that my ancestors and I are walking on different time axes by changing time. Even if I go back to the future, where it moves according to my time, the world will still be an era of the Blade God and the Blade God's 6 martial clan. With a bitter expression, Chen Musong continued. There is no reward for me to come to the past. From the beginning, I came to the past with 2 purposes. If the time axis is divided like this, I will either take a great master who can deal with the Blade God into my time, the future, or if that doesn't. It was then. Beep. 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 At that moment, a strange alarm began to sound from the mechanical bracelet Chen Musong was wearing on his wrist. His eyes shook as he heard that sound. This. Who? As soon as the flustered words escaped from Chen Musong's mouth, the space shook. In the shimmering space, figures covered in bright light appeared. Chen Musong muttered in a voice full of despair. T. P. What he was the most afraid of was happening.